Bimpe was a happy-go-lucky 13-year-old girl from a small village in Oyo, close to Ibadan. She was the type of girl who loved to climb trees, play in the rain, and chase chicken around her family compound. Life in the village was peaceful, but this year was different. Her parents decided she would spend a long holiday in Lagos with her cousin, Kike. Kike was only 2 years older than Bimpe, and they were more like friends. Kike's mother had passed away, and since then, Kike had been living alone in Lagos. She stayed in a one-room apartment in a busy, noisy compound with about 15 other tenants. Bimpe had heard many stories about Lagos: the bright lights, the crowded streets, the big buses, danfo, and the city noise. She had never been there before, but she was excited about coming to Lagos. The only thing was that Bimpe didn't know how fast Lagos could be. The morning Bimpe left the village, her mother packed food for her: a big basket full of yam, plantain, and egusi soup wrapped in nylon. She also carried a huge black bag filled with all her clothes, even the ones she didn't need. Bimpe wore a red blouse, a yellow skirt, and a green slippers. To her, it was a fashion statement. But if only she knew what Lagos people would think. She had never been on a big bus before, so the ride from Ibadan to Lagos was both scary and exciting. When she got to Lagos Motor Park, everything looked strange. There were so many cars, motorcycles, and people shouting, "Oshodi, Ikeja, Yaba." Bimpe felt dizzy just looking around. A bus conductor saw her struggling with her huge bag and basket of food, and he shouted, "Omo, you be JJC." Some other people around laughed and repeated after him, "JJC." She didn't know what it meant, but she smiled shyly. The conductor helped her with her bag, and she entered the bus. When Bimpe finally arrived at Kike's place, she was sweating from carrying her luggage. The moment she entered the compound, all the children playing outside stopped to stare at her. One of the boys, with his cheek full of chewing gum, pointed at her and said, "Ah, see this JJC." Bimpe frowned. "What is JJC?" she asked Kike when she got inside the room. Kike laughed softly. "It means jolly just come. It's what they call people who are new to Lagos." Bimpe was not happy. "But I'm not a jolly just come," she said. "I just haven't been here before," she protested. Kike smiled and unpacked Bimpe things. Bimpe looked around the small room. There was a bed, a small table, and a few cooking pots stacked in one corner. The bedroom was outside, shared by everyone in the compound. The compound was noisy. The tenants argued over everything: whose clothes was left on the washing line for too long, who used too much water, who didn't sweep the front of their room. "Do you live here all alone?" Bimpe asked Kike, feeling sad for her cousin. "Yes, but I'm used to it," Kike replied. Over the next few days, Bimpe noticed that some of the neighbors were very mean to Kike. One day, Kike was washing clothes outside when an older woman, Mama Risi, started yelling, "Kike, why is your water flowing into my room? Hey, can't you be more careful?" Kike apologized quietly, but Bimpe wasn't having it. She marched up to Mama Risi, her hands on her hip. "It was a mistake. There's no need to shout." Mama Risi raised her eyebrow. "Who is this JJC talking to me? Hey, if you don't know Lagos, you better learn respect." Bimpe replied, I no respect, even though her heart was pounding. But shouting doesn't solve problems, she said. Mama Risi eased and walked away. From that day, she gave Bimpe and Kike dirty looks. Bimpe didn't care. She had defended her cousin, and that was all that mattered. A few days later, Bimpe was going to buy bread at the corner shop when some boys from the compound stopped her. Hey, JJC, one of them called, blocking her path. Bimpe rolled her eyes. My name is not JJC, my name is Bimpe. The boys laughed. Ah, see you as you dress, pointing to her outfit. Bimpe had paired a purple blouse with an orange trouser. She thought it was a bold choice, but apparently Lagos kid didn't think so. Leave me alone, Bimpe said firmly, but the boys continued to laugh and tease her. They followed her to the shop, making fun of the way she talked and walked. Bimpe ignored them as best as she could, but when one of them pulled her scarf, she turned around and shouted, Enough! If you don't stop now, you will see what will happen. The boy stopped for a moment, surprised by her boldness. But one of them, Femi, stepped forward and crossed his arms. Oh, really? What will happen? Bimpe didn't know what to do, but she wasn't going to let them bully her. She took a deep breath and squared her shoulder. In my village, we don't back down for bullies. If you have any problem with me, we can settle it now. The boys exchanged looks. Femi laughed nervously. Ah, this JJC is serious, oh. But they backed off and Bimpe walked back to the compound with her head high. From that day, the boys stopped teasing her. They even began to greet her politely whenever they saw her. Over the next few weeks, Bimpe learned a lot about Lagos life. She still dressed in her colorful village clothes and people still called her JJC from time to time, but she didn't mind. She knew who she was and she wasn't going to let anyone make her feel small. Bimpe also started helping Kike more around the compound. One day, a tenant tried to take Kike's turn to fetch water from the compound well. It's not your turn, Bimpe said calmly when she saw the man trying to push his way to the front. Hey, this JJC again, the man said, frowning. Whether I am JJC or not, we all have rules in this compound, Bimpe replied. The man grumbled but stepped back in line. Word spread quickly the compound that Bimpe was not someone to mess with. She didn't fight or shout, but she had a way of making people listen to her. Soon the other kids in the compound started to respect Bimpe. Even Femi and his gang began to treat her like one of them. One evening, the children were playing football in the compound. Femi kicked the ball to Bimpe. Bimpe grinned. She had played plenty of football in her village. She kicked the ball and it sailed straight into the goal post. Go! The children shouted. They cheered for Bimpe, clapping and patting her on the back. You are not bad for a JJC, Femi said with a smile. Bimpe laughed. I'm not a JJC anymore. I am a Lagos champion. When the long holiday was finally over, it was time for Bimpe to return to her village. She had mixed feelings. She missed her family, but she had grown to love Lagos too. The day she was leaving, all the children in the compound gathered to see her off. Safe journey, Lagos champion, Femi shouted as she climbed into the bus. Don't forget us, another child called. Bimpe waved and smiled. I won't forget you. As the bus pulled out of the station, Bimpe looked back into the noisy streets of Lagos. She thought about how much she has grown during her stay in Lagos. She was no longer the shy village girl who was afraid of the city. Lagos had taught her how to be bold, how to stand up for herself, and most importantly, how to be confident in who she was. Back in the village, when her friends asked her how was Lagos, Bimpe smiled proudly and said Lagos was fine. In fact, I became the Lagos champion.